those who don't know, what is Movember all about?
So Movember is the world's leading charity changing the face of men's health. Everything we do is to stop men dying too young. And a big part of that is getting men to be more proactive in their health and well-being, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or otherwise. And we do that specifically by focusing on three key cause areas of mental health and suicide prevention, prostate cancer, and testicular cancer.
Those are all such great things to be working towards to help with. And so we're honored to be a part of this with you. Can you talk a little bit more about the mental health aspect of it, and what you guys are doing there?
Absolutely. And frankly, I get a lot of questions of why is mental health a piece of Movember? It's not something that's specific to men, right?
Yeah.
Prostate cancer and testicular cancer, they only affect men because those are organs that only biological males have. But the mental health and suicide prevention piece is a little bit different as it affects kind of all spots in our society. But it's something that disproportionately affects men. So out of all suicides, roughly 4 out of 5 of them are men. So nearly 80% of all suicides are men. So it's something that disproportionately affects the male community. And in fact, one man takes his own life approximately every minute somewhere around the world. So it's a tragic statistic. It's one that once it kind of came into our radar in terms of how it affects men and how it disproportionately affects them, we realized that we had to take action. And because we're about changing men's behavior in a positive manner, we knew that the mental health piece had to be a part of that.
That's awesome. So what kind of projects do you guys have going on in there?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of great projects in all three of our cause areas, and they touch upon different aspects of what we're trying to do. Obviously, we have research programs, we have community-based programs, such as our Making Connections program here in the United States, which goes to community-based programs in different areas in the United States, specifically with high-risk communities, ones that are more vulnerable to mental health issues, such as men and boys of color, indigenous people, veterans, farmers, things of that sort. And we go to where they are and provide community and connectedness with them, and also take the findings back so that we can add to our research on that side of the thing as well. But also we have some great digital programs, which are kind of new and innovative that we're very excited about. One being Movember Conversations. It's an online tool where you can navigate a difficult conversation with a man. And what's cool about that is, generally speaking, men are not very good about opening up, being vulnerable, sharing what's going on in their life, particularly if it's something difficult. So it's a great tool where people can log on and kind of walk through a hypothetical conversation with a man and different strategies to take, different ways to respond when guys might try to shut down or change the subject or things like that, whether it's they're going through a job loss or maybe a breakup or things of that sort. So that's a really cool digital tool we have. And one other one that recently came out this past year is a tool called Family Man. And it's online modules for new fathers to help them navigate difficult situations with children. And to our understanding, it's the first of its kind in that realm as well. And we know that there's a lot of things that can make people anxious or lead to depression, such as some of those issues that I mentioned earlier. But fatherhood and parenting isn't one that most people think about, but it is a huge life change for men, but both sides of the aisle, men and women, when they become new parents. But for men, kind of having someone else that relies on them, that depends on them, and having to navigate that with their family can be really tough and really taxing on a man. So that's another great tool we have. But since inception, Movember's funded over 1,250 projects around the world in those three cause areas. So if anybody wants more information on the work we're doing, they can always visit Movember.com to dive into some of that as well.
That's awesome. That's a really good tool to have, because you're right. We kind of suck at starting conversations. We're not really trained, we don't have a lot of experience, I think, growing up learning how to do that. So that's pretty awesome. Absolutely. Where have you seen the most progress, you think, in the last, say, decade, because of all this research and connecting men, and where have you seen a big positive impact?
Well, To me, again, I don't want to speak for the foundation in this regard because we've done so much great work in each of our cause areas, and we've had some big breakthroughs with patents on the research side of things and peer-reviewed publications and things like that. But to me, kind of in my estimation, has been the amount of men we've been able to reach from a messaging perspective and getting those men to change their behaviors and implement better habits into their life. And the reason for that is we want to destigmatize how masculinity has been looked at in a lot of communities and areas over time. And if every man in the world would just go get their annual physicals, seek professional or community help when something's not going right, opening up when they're struggling with something, we could put ourselves out of business tomorrow, right? And that would be an incredible thing to do. And where I've seen progress personally and as an employee of Movember has been being able to reach more men, being able to normalize conversations around mental health issues, to normalize seeking help when it's needed, to encourage seeing doctors annually for your physical, or really just being more connected with your community. I mean, isolation among men is an incredible problem that we see, and especially as men get older, they tend to have fewer and fewer people that they identify as close friends, whereas our female counterparts do a far better job in kind of staying connected with their friends and family members, seeking help when it's needed. So frankly, a big part of the reason Movember started was to emulate the great work that the women in society are doing for themselves, and to kind of say, we want to take a page out of your playbook and encourage men to have a lot of those positive behaviors as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. We have a lot that we can learn from our women counterparts. One of the things that we've encountered, I guess, as we've done more, gotten more involved in the men's communities, is sort of there's a spectrum, there's a manosphere, I think it's called, with people that misogynists and there's various positions on LGBTQ. How has Movember faced any kind of that backlash, but sort of like a counter opinion on taking care of men?
I don't think so, personally. I mean, we've gotten many more questions about it than we've gotten actual backlash. And I think a part of that is, like, we all know what are toxic behaviors, right? Whether it's sexism of any sort or abuse, whether it's physical or verbal. And those are obviously things that we would never condone or support as a foundation. And also, we're not trying to feminize men. I think that maybe is another question we get a lot, is because we do talk a lot about women and how great they do, but we know that it's not also about saying we need to act and behave exactly like women. It's taking positive aspects of all pieces of society, regardless of your gender, your race, your age, your sexual orientation, and saying, what are positive things that are giving back to society as a whole? And when men are healthy, society is healthy. When women are healthy, society is healthy. When we're taking care of each other, when we're looking out for each other, when we're trying to eliminate toxic and bad behaviors and uplift positive, strong behaviors, that's where we're going to see the most progress. And I think Movember's position is we want to continue to support men in what they're doing right, and hopefully change or eliminate some of the behaviors that aren't so healthy, whether it's socially healthy or physically healthy or emotionally healthy. We want to make sure that the good stays and continues to grow, and the bad gets slowly kind of eliminated from habits. I mean, substance abuse is another thing as well that really men struggle with on a higher level and rate than women in a lot of ways. And that can lead, obviously, to mental health issues as well. So making sure men are more aware, more educated about the things that specifically affect them, kind of tools that they can use to implement good behaviors and kind of get out some of those bad behaviors in their life, and really just encourage them the best that we can to live those happy, healthy, and longer lives.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned earlier reaching men and the various ways to do that. As it sounds like that, I was going to say the internet, but that's like constantly evolving social media, things like that. What has Movember learned in terms of how men prefer to be reached, and what the most effective way to get into our heads and help us let down our guard?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Movember strategy is to go to where men already are.
Mm.
Because it's really hard to get men to change their behavior, especially if they're not used to it. It's uncomfortable to them. It's something very new to them. So, I mean, as much as I love kind of men's groups and men's retreats, and I'm involved in several of them, it's really hard for someone that's never been exposed or has access to those sorts of things say, hey, come to this retreat. And because they have this idea, we'll be sitting around in a circle playing the drums and sharing our deepest, darkest secrets, which again is great when you can make it happen. But to get men to do that, to radically change the behavior is really tough. So what we want to do is go to where men already are. That's where you see a lot of success when we're going to sporting events or through programs that are through sports or gaming or barbershops where men kind of already congregate to talk, because they're already there. They're already comfortable in these situations, in these settings. So if we can go there and spread the message about men's health, mental health, physical activity, good behavior on that side, it's easier for them to digest because they're in a setting that's comfortable to them. They're in a setting that's relevant and it's not new. So that's the most impact that we see, is when we go to where men are, as opposed to creating these new circles and expecting them to come to us, because it's frankly, it's a much harder and it's a much bigger ask.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it makes me think about when I get together with guys, it often looks very different than I think the portrayal of how people think it looks.
Yeah.
I think they imagine a lot of making fun of each other and beating up on each other, but honestly, it's usually a fairly chill, supportive atmosphere, I think. But what are some of the things that men do to make it not safe for each other? Because I think we have to, as much as we can build each other up, we can tear each other down. What are some of the things that you might notice there?
Yeah, I think to your point, a lot of kind of, men show affection and in different ways, right? And sometimes it is teasing and joking around. And honestly, I think if properly done, can be very effective in terms of growing bonds and connections. However, a lot of times it comes from an unhealthy or a very negative place when men, have incredible self-conscious issues going on or personal things they're struggling with, and they'll project it to other men. So if you're teasing or kind of insulting guys to take them down so that, it either puts you above them, or you want to drag them down if you're going through a tough time, that's unhealthy behavior, right? But I'll speak for myself. I'm involved in several men's groups, and we tease each other all the time, but we come together because we're there to talk about our struggles and celebrate our successes together and support each other, because that's the foundation of these groups. And it's making it very clear and communicating that we're here to support each other, to walk this journey with each other, to share in a kind of judgment, distraction-free area. And that's the baseline. So all the teasing and the joking around, it's good and it's fun and it helps build that camaraderie, because it is something that men are good at and we enjoy doing. But it's done to understand that we're not here to hurt each other. We're not here to pull each other down. We're not here to denigrate each other. We're here to support each other. So all of that is done good-naturedly and kind of in a better way. But one thing that I've seen be very, very successful is starting yourself with vulnerability. I first learned this. I went to a men's retreat in 2013 and really didn't know what to expect. It was at this new church that I was going to, and I just, graduated law school and was looking to make some connections. And I went more just to meet some guys and to network a little bit. And part of the retreat was men, and a lot of these very, very successful men with families and great jobs and things, sharing their testimonies and their stories. And it got very deep and very heavy. And again, this isn't necessarily what I'm recommending for all men to start off with, because I was kind of thrown into the fire here. But I was so inspired by these men, these successful men that on the surface had the world by the balls, that could do no wrong. They were perfect and successful and handsome and had great families, talking about what they struggle with, whether it was substance abuse or abuse that they suffered as a child, or getting very real and open. And it didn't make me think any less of these men. And in fact, I came out of that retreat respecting them more, seeing what they've accomplished despite all of these things that they've gone through in their lives, and these difficulties that they're either over or still working through. And to me, that inspired me like, oh, well, I can talk about my issues as well. I can talk about where I struggle as well. And I can be more open and more vulnerable and more honest with my friends. And when guys can do that, I think it inspires other men to do that. And it really spreads like wildfire. And again, that doesn't mean that I think we have to go telling everybody we meet what our deepest, darkest fears are. No, you got to judge the moment and the situation and the setting, of course, appropriately. But when those atmospheres are created for men and they're given the opportunity and that door is opened a little bit for them to share and be open, I think it's a really powerful way to get guys to get through the toxic behaviors that they may be accustomed to and really get towards some of those healthy behaviors of sharing and supporting and just being there and being connected with other men particularly.
It's inspirational, honestly. I don't know, just picturing that scenario of connecting with another guy, and it's like I don't know, it's scary, but it is very rewarding for sure. The Movember Foundation is international. And we at Visible Man, we have guys from all over the world that are part of that community, of our community, discussing things. I'm wondering, have you seen any, I don't know, what are any differences in different communities or countries where Movember might be, does it look different in each country? Do you find different things, or is it the same messaging?
Yeah, I think what's great about Movember is that we empower our supporters, which we call MoBros and Mo Sisters, to take Movember and really make it their own. And what I mean by that is they can raise awareness or raise money however it best fits them, whether it's growing a mustache, which is what we're best known for, taking our Move Challenge, which encouraged people to stay physically active throughout the month, hosting events and parties, which we love, love, love to see because they're fun, they're engaging, they're for a good cause, or mowing your own way, which is kind of the catch-all option of doing something creative, unique, fun that is personalized to you. So what I think is great is that whatever you want to do to help support Movember or raise awareness or educate people, you can do, and you can do it through the Movember platform. But obviously, culturally, every nation is different. Even here in the United States, every state is different than the one next to it. So because we're empowering people to make Movember their own, they can kind of fit whatever their culture kind of has in store for them and support Movember in a way most appropriate to that. Australia, where Movember was founded initially, they're rock stars down there, man. Like Movember's like the United Way in Australia. Everybody knows Movember. Wow. Everyone's on board, and it's great. Whereas, we're still growing here in the United States and getting involved in a lot of different corporate organizations as well as our community, which is fantastic. I love our American Mo's. But yeah, we're continuing to grow here. So even just the awareness piece is different in different areas around the world. But at the end of the day, our mission is all the same, and that's to get men to live happier, healthier, longer lives, to change their behaviors in a positive manner, and continue to bring awareness to these important causes.
That's awesome. That's a great message. So how would somebody get involved other than growing a mustache, raising money? Like what would you say to somebody who wants to get involved with Movember?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is everything starts and ends at Movember.com. So you definitely want to go to Movember.com and sign up. And whether you plan on donating or fundraising or doing neither and just taking part in the Move Challenge or growing a mustache, anybody can join at Movember.com. It's absolutely free to sign up. It's a great way to show your support for the cause, for the organization, to track your progress too. Our tech team has done an incredible job creating a platform that people can curate their own MoSpace page, edit it, modify it, do everything they want, set goals if they're fundraising or doing the Move Challenge, putting photos and posts on their page. And what's even cooler is that you can create a team. So if you have some buddies or you want to start it at your workplace, you can create a team for people to join, and you can support Movember together. And I'm on our corporate development team here in the United States, and just seeing the success of the corporate movement towards men's health initiatives has been spectacular. I was on the phone with a Nike team this morning. As you can see, I'm wearing my Movember Nike shirt right now. And it was just so great to see people from one of the most known brands in the entire world really interested in actively supporting this men's health movement. So whether you're doing it by yourself with a group of friends, with your colleagues at work, go to Movember.com, sign up, register, and just make it fun. Make it your own. And yeah, if you can and you're willing to, grow a mustache. As I mentioned to you guys, I'm getting married in a few weeks, and that's why I'm not doing the traditional start from scratch mustache thing. My fiance did not want a 20-day mustache waiting for her on the altar. So I'm doing the Move Challenge. I hosted an event already. I'm always doing a few unique things to mow my own way. But yeah, whatever people want to do, sign up at Movember.com and get to mowing.
That's awesome. Yeah, and we actually formed a team on Visible Man. So if you want to, we invite you to make a donation to the Visible Man team.
Yes.
So we've got one going, and we're hoping to make our contribution to the team.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys for your involvement, and yeah, and join the team too of all your listeners. I mean, if you don't have a group of friends or colleagues that you want to support with, join the Visible Man team, and raise some money, grow that stash, take part, and it's a great way to just show your support and continue to engage for these men's health issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Rich. I appreciate you being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and look forward to another mustache season with y'all.
Yes, sir.